What's up, guys? How y'all doing? Victory Monday. Positives there, but jumping into this news. I know everybody wondering questions. You might have already seen it. Lane Johnson, the injury update, left the game, obviously, Sunday night. Eagles offense struggled more so. They were already struggling before Lane left, but I'll just jump right into it. Appreciate you guys hanging out as always, and a couple different takeaways. But if you haven't seen it, here it is, the tweet officially. Adam Schefter and others, but Lane Johnson suffered and I don't know exactly, I think it's Lisfranc is how you would pronounce that, but Lisfranc injury during Sunday night's win. It's a foot injury, and you remember that Nakobe Dean, others have dealt with this in the past. It can make you miss quite a bit of time. Now, the possible silver lining, and hopefully I'm praying for this, I'm believing this, but it's not expected to be season-ending injury. Could be headed to the injured reserve, though. The expectation is 4 to 6 weeks that Lane Johnson would be out. So, 4 to 6 weeks. Obviously, you do the math there. Getting further evaluation. Even Jeff McLane says count down there in the further tweet. But if he's expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks, obviously the IR, and that would put him for return by the postseason. So get healthy, get right. Lisfranc injuries are nothing to mess around with. Anyone who has had one, dealt with it, even knows somebody who's had one, obviously for our own players, that is 100% that you want to get right. So at this point, it's like, all right, you know what, Lane, get healthy, hopefully for the postseason. For an offense that, I mean, I don't know how the best way to describe it. An offense that struggled so terribly, and now to be without Lane Johnson for 4 to 6 weeks, that is a fairly scary thought. I'm hopeful. It might be crazy. It might be insanity to be hopeful that we could still figure out something. And I think the most important thing for that, and just trying to process, like what the update is. I was initially when Lane went out, right? Remember he injured the ankle in the Green Bay game. So I was like, oh, did he re-injure it? And then obviously we got the report of, okay, it's a foot injury, and he wasn't able to come back. So then, yeah, signs are that's not a great news. If Lane Johnson, a guy who can play through just about anything, was not able to return, and now we know for 4 to 6 weeks. Lane Johnson, the Eagles are, and this is shout out to Zach Berman for the stat, but the Eagles are 96-41-1 when Lane Johnson starts. So to save you the math on that, that's 70%. 70% win percentage when Lane Johnson starts. 12-23 when he does not. That's a 34%. Save you the math on that one also, but 34%. Not great, to say the least. However, and I see people in the chat, I understand this, right? Thank God for Fred Johnson. Absolutely. For the record, remember Fred had to play last season. The Eagles were 5-1 last season when Fred Johnson started, and 3-0. This again, shout out to Zach Berman. 3-0 this season when Fred Johnson plays at least 50% of the offensive snaps. So that's the silver lining or the optimistic viewpoint, if you want, glass half full, whatever. But again, for an offense that has struggled so significantly, it's like this is. It's the worst timing, really. It never is a good time, but it's the worst timing, really. My biggest important thing, though, and this is what I would say, right? So if you believe in the power of prayer, I certainly do, but I would be praying for Lane Johnson. I know that the expectation is it's not season ending, but I will just share this info because Jeff McLane also posted this about 15 minutes ago, and I don't even like the possibility of this getting brought up, but he did share this. So back to the tweet from Jeff, but Lane is awaiting results from x-rays. You see that from Dr. Robert Anderson. While he is believed to have suffered a sprain, a decision will be made if he needs to potentially have season-ending surgery per sources. Again, hope and belief that it was not season-ending, but he's going to double-check. So if you believe in prayer, absolutely. We are praying for Lane Johnson to be healthy, to avoid the season-ending injury. Because it's one thing, like I say, 4 to 6 weeks. If this were to turn into he's got to have surgery and shut it down, I think the rest of the season, the way that we've had with, the gauntlet, whatever you want to call it with the schedule, but the defense had carried this team, and there's games that you can get by without Lane Johnson. For the postseason, big fan of Fred Johnson. Big fan of Fred. Fred's done great work, but man, you gotta have Lane there. Norman, other people just joining again. I shared this for a second ago, or shared this a second ago, but I'll put it back up on the screen for the initial tweet and news. But Lane Johnson, based on the test, had the Lisfranc injury, multiple others, but going to get further evaluation. Expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. So, how are we feeling? Going to get to some of the chat and everything there, but coming off of, again, one of the worst, it feels like we've said this multiple weeks now, again, which we probably have, coming off of one of the worst offensive performances that we've seen. Prior to that, the Green Bay game as well. Where's the concern level with the loss? I don't exactly know how to equate that, but one on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being we're perfectly fine, we're golden, we're good, we're chilling. No, I'm not saying the offense, right? I'm just saying specifically for one player here with Lane Johnson being out. Offense is a whole nother story. That's, yes, we're absolutely concerned there. But just for Lane Johnson. And then 10 being the absolute panic, freak out, and, going to be tough. Really, really tough. Like, absolute panic. Zank says huge loss. Dez, agree with you there. Yep. Hilly hands on Lane Johnson. I'm telling you. Okay, lots of 5s, 4s, 3s, 5s. Got a 7 to 10. Jeremiah. Okay, there's some optimism as well. I can appreciate that. I'm probably at like a 5, I would say. I like I say, I believe in Fred, but man, it's kind of parallel with the offensive line. It's not been one guy. We know that. I mean, it all across the board. We had guys that struggled, injuries, consistency, communication. To me, it's just another piece. It's like, okay, you've had the group that hasn't played well. Maybe the counter argument there is, yeah, but they can't get too much more inconsistent. So another change, you throw in Fred Johnson instead of Lane, but it's kind of the one guaranteed anchor, even as he had a holding penalty last night, but kind of the one anchor. He was going to play better than the other guys. But yeah, like I'm 5. If it's a longer injury, which we're not really going there, not really thinking that, but if it was, obviously concern level heightens. But 4 to 6 weeks if he's on the IR. Yeah, BBG, others saying the same thing. Depends on if he's out for season versus just the IR. Damon's, appreciate that, man. Appreciate the 2. Says here, it's time for Lane to retire. You think so? I think he's good. Alex, I get to yours in a second. Damon just followed up with another one, so I'll put it up here just because it's in the same light. But I will get to yours, Alex. I get to the Super Chats in order after that. It's time for Lane to retire, and then Damon's following up with, are we that worried when we got Fred in the background? Again, that trust him fairly well, but there is still a discrepancy. Everyone understands that. There is a fairly big discrepancy between Fred Johnson and Lane Johnson. But yeah, 5 of 10 probably for me. As far as the retire comment though, yeah, he's getting it. He's older, right? 35, I think, if I'm not mistaken. He's older. He's getting injured. It kind of happens. The Eagles have been mostly healthy, so at some point, you're wondering, like, okay, were they going to have something else there with the injuries? Every team faces it. That now we had been injured, gotten healthy. It was the healthiest game of the season. Started the squad. Everybody was a full participant. There was no one listed as even questionable. I guess outside Willie Lampkin, but you had the full squad just about healthy, ready to go. I don't think. I mean, Lane even said, this past offseason, he kind of feels like he's getting into he's in his prime, or he's feeling refreshed, rejuvenated, however he phrased that. But it felt like he had a good way to go. The only chance that he was even considering, maybe do I retire, is if the Eagles were to win the Super Bowl. But I can't envision that this would be an instance where, okay, now he's thinking that one through and like, all right, got injured here, and maybe it's time because we had a couple injuries. The foot of the Lisfranc, I don't know. I'd have to see even when that play exactly occurred. But the ankle injury that he had earlier in the season, had against Green Bay, but also had another ankle injury. Those are, I think that comes with the territory. Playing football, especially the offensive line, guys rolling up on you. I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily as much of like an age factor. Probably plays a little bit, but I don't think so. Alex with a 2. Appreciate that. Says 2. Okay. Not a big concern at all. All right. Lane won't be here much longer. Speedy recovery. So I guess there's already a lot of thought. Like, well, let's just get prepared to have life without Lane. Try to figure stuff out. Yeah, I mean, in Fred we trust. That's what we do. John, that's a fair point. Yeah, I could ask my brother for the take on that. David, was it the first play of the game for Lane? Felt like he was. I mean, maybe he heard it for the first play of the game. He was out there for longer. Philly 600. Others just joining. Do me a favor, drop a like. Helps the algorithm. We appreciate that. But for others just joining, have not heard the news officially. One more time. Lane Johnson, Jeff McLane posting, and others. Initial tests indicate that Lane Johnson suffered a Lisfranc injury, sprain in his foot, and will get further evaluations, but expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks, which would put him in line for return by the postseason. Positive silver lining here is, right, we beat multiple teams here, but you win the game last night against the Lions. You've got the Green Bay win. We've got the Rams. We've got the Bucs. There's a lot of tiebreakers there over NFC teams, and the Rams doing us a favor, beating the Seahawks as well. So the Eagles, it'll get tougher without Lane Johnson. But over the course of the regular season here now, the remaining games that we have, if the Eagles can, they've got those tiebreakers, they can afford to lose a game and still have the number 1 seed. And that's with, whoever's closest behind them not losing another game as well. So you can kind of play that one in factor, or at least looking at their schedules, who they have to play, because they're going to, beat up on each other with the NFC North, but or the NFC West, I should say. But you got a lot of opportunity here, and if the Eagles especially could get that first round bye with the number 1 seed, then there's even extra time. And again, like we were saying, you don't want to rush anything back, but 4 to 6 weeks, that is the thought and the belief. I also did share a second ago, the only potential concern, and really not even believing this way, but Jeff McLane said that the results that they're awaiting on are x-rays with Dr. Robert Anderson. So while it's believed with a sprain, just double check, make sure in case something were to show up that he needed potential season-ending surgery. But we're not believing that. We're not going to go there. Moving on from that point. That's way too negative. Rich with a 2, 5 of 10. Okay, I just hope he doesn't end up how Peters did. That's a fair. I've seen a couple people throw out that argument or that analogy. Jason Peters get the take there. I don't think he will. I understand the sentiment of people throwing that out, but Rodgers, Lane, and Cam need to sit. Not even just Lane. Get Lane healthy. Get Cam Jurgens healthy. The O-line, man. It's you can't have. They didn't even get a game. So if we remember this correctly, Anthony DeBona had brought this up on one of the last recordings, but the Eagles' offensive line has only played one game together for like start to finish. One game the entire season. I believe that was week 2. I can't recall which game, but it was one of those. But yes. Charles, I know. I'm optimistic. I do believe, like I said earlier, believing that it's only a sprain. It's going to be 4 to 6 weeks. Never want to see anybody get banged up. It doesn't feel to the extent. I saw some people throwing out the Nakobe Dean injury right now. Granted, that was in the playoffs. But the news that we got after that game, the knee injury, the effects that has, it's not even near that extreme, right? Because that was a gruesome injury, a very bad injury, and the magnitude of where it was within the playoffs. This is time. Lane can get right. He can get healthy. come back. He's not one of those players, obviously, as well, where it's like, he was out for 4 to 6 weeks. Is he going to be rusty? Like, he can get right and be back to Lane status pretty quickly. So I'm not concerned there. But it's still a blow. Evan with a 10 bomb. Appreciate that, dude. Says losing someone as good as Lane is always bad. 7 of 10. Wow. Okay. There's a pretty concerning 7 of 10 concern. But maybe this will push Stout and the rest of the O-line to get it together. I still believe the O-line is the biggest problem with the offense right now, which that'll start a whole other. David. Okay. McLane said it was on play 1. Okay. Thank you. I didn't see that. I was going through and trying to get all the other details of the injury, but I must have missed which play it occurred on. So, okay, so play 1, and he tried to gut it out through others, and eventually went out. Okay, that would make sense for some of the other plays. Like he got the holding call on, kind of like grabbed Aiden Hutchinson on a play. That would make some sense if he was already dealing with the injury after play 1. Man, it's just a physicality. But hoping for the best. 7 of 10. Evan, your comment. 7 of 10 concern. I do like the thought of that, though, in terms of pushing Stout and the rest of the offensive line. Sometimes, like when you get punched in the face, I'm not as upset as my near 2-year-old is. You hear in the background the crying. We're not to that extreme yet. Now maybe I want to cry about the offense, but that's a whole nother story. Lane is just the piece here. It is a big, important piece. But I agree, like, if you're missing one of your best players, maybe that does get everyone else on I don't know, like more focus, right? Because we don't need those false starts. We don't need the holding calls, the other penalties that we've had and issues there. Maybe everybody has a kind of extra, let's elevate the room because we know we need to be there. Yeah, I hope so. Because it is crazy. It's a different line of thinking, but it's kind of in a similar respect of, okay, you were without A.J. Brown in the Vikings game, or not the Vikings game, in the Giants game, and that was coming off the Vikings game, and you're saying like, oh, well, the offense was clicking, they were firing all the cylinders, man, we missed A.J., he's got the hamstring injury, what are they going to do? And didn't really seem to miss a beat. The guys were playing. Now, it is the Giants, so there's another counter-argument. There's always counter-arguments to that, but does it elevate the stats? Does everybody play a little bit higher and, maybe get them focused? They need something, yes, because the offensive line has been terrible. Now, like I say, it's started out comments on the chat, which it only was going to, but Kevin Patullo has been trash. The offensive line has been not good at all, very below average. The players in general have made really poor mistakes. We had drops last night. The wind playing a factor. Jaylen Hurts did not play his best game. It was all over the place. You score 16 points, it's a clunker. But it takes more than one person to make that happen. So, yeah, we'll see. Brennan with a 2. Hopefully we get to see Willie Lampkin now. Maybe. I mean, Willie's not going to replace Lane, but I guess if you're going to where are you reshuffling? How are you moving people around to make that work? I think it's just Fred Johnson coming in. Suppose you could put him out there at the other extra offensive lineman if you're wanting to go the jumbo package they have, because now Fred will obviously be the right tackle. So, yeah, I guess possibly. It does free up a spot, and that may be the case that you're making more so, as it was going to be difficult to have a spot. You're going to put Lane on the IR, free up a spot. Now Willie gets activated, and maybe you can play him there. So we'll see. Running game needs to get going as well. It's all facets on those, everything. But yes, James, at least the Lane Johnson injury is not season-ending. We're speaking that. We're believing it, even though he's waiting x-rays from Dr. Robert Anderson. So we'll keep you guys posted there. Damon's, I didn't ask this question for KP, but there it is. Kevin Patullo, I'm at a 10 with KP. 10 concern level. It's approaching that area. There's no excuse. Yeah, BBG. Now I'm pretty sure that the comment previously about Willie was surely just a way to figure out and get him on the roster, not on playing right tackle. I think others are seeing that, but Owen with the 5. I said last night that Phillips was going to get 2 sacks, was so close to being right. Phillips is a beast, makes our defense stacked. He does, man. Phillips is insane. Seeing him in person, too, TV doesn't do it justice. Broadcast doesn't do it justice. Film does not do it justice. If you can go see him in person, go do that. Go watch this team. The offense, as bad as it is, the defense is incredible. And I'm telling you, the defensive line, watch them in Green Bay. I'm sure was the case last night in person as well. It is like night and day difference. So you see him early in the season, you see him now, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't, but I almost feel bad for the opposing quarterback because they have no time. And the direction that the pressures are coming from is all over the place. You got standard rushes, you have stunts, you have different alignments, you got Jalen Carter sometimes on the edge, other times he's in the middle, in the interior, and then that's not to mention JD and JC going all Dikembe Mutombo and swatting down passes. So, yeah, I'm hyped about the defense. As much as we are concerned about the offense, it's the complete polar opposite for the defense. I don't even think it's that crazy to say the Eagles' defense is the best in the NFL right now. Like, I will say that. I will legit believe that. I know the standings or the metrics and everything else, because of their slower start, does not have them in that area. But for what they're doing now and what we've seen in the last couple games, you can't convince me otherwise. It's a crazy, crazy defense. The offense just somehow needs to figure out something with all the playmakers and not getting it done. But Lane Johnson being out 4 to 6 weeks, going to hurt a little bit. David, yes, I did see that. 11. Hang on. I think I'll see another one coming. Michael, get to yours first, though. Michael with a 5. Appreciate that. What's your thought on AJ being 135th in separation? Understand there's about 1 to 2 plays a game. Jalen is a miss, but can we stop just blaming Hurts? Yeah, I'm not blaming Hurts on all those. I'll talk about it more in the game recap video, which, by the way, will probably come out tomorrow. I mentioned, too, if you want to see the Eagles in person, they did win, obviously. So because of the win, I'm going to give away 2 tickets to 1 lucky subscriber. So stay tuned. Game recap video probably dropping tomorrow at this point, schedule-wise and everything. But keep an eye out there, and I will talk more in depth about that. But you'll get a chance. All you got to do is drop a like, comment on that video there, and we'll spin and give it away. Shout out to John Montez for winning the tickets for calling the first touchdown score, Jameson Williams, in the game last night, and then the Eagles winning. So he got those. Picked the Bears game. I think there's like 7 people now over the course of the season that have picked the Bears game. Like the Lions game and the Bears game were the 2 most picked games for all the ticket giveaways that we've done, which understandably so. I mean, there's kind of some good games to go to. But, yeah, I'm a little annoyed with AJ. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to spend a ton of time. I'll talk about it more. He's not giving a ton of effort. Sorry. He's not. You go watch the film. I watched him in person at Green Bay specifically to see what he's doing. He's totally justified the offense being not good, being frustrated with it, calling it out, being upset. Totally justified. But if you're going to call it out, give me 100%. Sorry. I know the ball's not coming your way. You could say that, yeah, well, I would be upset. I'm not going to keep giving effort. Maybe if I'm just going to be getting cardio in. Sure. That's another case to be made. That's just not the way that I believe. It's like, all right, I'm still going to go out there. I'm going to give my effort. And hopefully things change, but I'm going to do what I can do 100%. There's too many times. It's just going through the motions. Halfway. And Smitty was guilty of it as well. You watched some of the snaps last night. There were times. Now, that may be a scheme thing where they're like, oh, hey, we just need you to run kind of out of the way. But it happened too many times when AJ was thrown the ball, and I think he could have made a play. So, I don't know. Yeah, is AJ hurt? I don't think so. But it makes you question how many times you see him going at 60, 70%. Flipping the bird, what's up? With the 5, Stout has not been good this season. Very unusual. I pray he just misses 4 to 6 weeks. Concern levels a 6. KP concern levels at 11. We're beyond a 10. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I can't fault you. You know, that's where it's at. They have had so little creativity. But it's all compiling together. It's all a snowball effect. It's terrible, and we know this. But it's like you combine bad play calling with bad blocking, with bad execution, with the worst timed penalties, And yeah, you get 16 points. You're fortunate to score 16 points, which is insane when you have a defense that got that many stops. I mean, effectively, they had, 5 turnovers? You get 4 fourth down stops, or was it 5? I'm forgetting now. It was 4 or 5, and then the interception. It's effectively 5 turnovers. I don't know. But yes, I'm with you. 100%. Pray that he misses just 4 to 6 weeks. If you miss the rest of the regular season, right, they're sitting at 8-2. I just, maybe you get him right and try to see if he's able to play that last game. But I would be perfectly fine of just saying, you know what, get him right, healthy, activate him, get in a couple practices, assuming that the Eagles can get that top seed, like I said before. You get him an extra bye week and ready to go in the divisional round. He'll be fine. You get him some practices, and Lane would be all right. Bingus with 10. I won't blame all of the offense on KP. That's obviously not all on him, but I do blame him for not figuring out how to get the ball to your best receiver. Just disgusting that you can't scheme him open. Totally fair. Again, it's twofold here, and I do understand the frustration of A.J. Brown. There's got to be better ways to get him the ball and get him involved. But there's a couple plays where, man, it's frustrating to watch because if your players aren't able to give or aren't willing to give 100% effort, it makes things difficult. So it's maybe that's created it with the frustration in KP's offense. But, Smitty is still making some plays at times, still going out there and doing that. There's lots of blame to go around, but it is frustrating. I'm with you. It is inexcusable for this offense to be the level that it's at with the players that they have. The most expensive, and yet, I said it last night on the live stream. It tells you the importance. It shows you the importance of coaching and not coaching and scheming. Like you get the most expensive offense in the NFL, and you have the cheapest or the second cheapest defense in the NFL, the youngest defense in the NFL. They're reversed of how you would expect them to be performing. You would think like, oh, hey, the defense, again, this is taking coaching out of it, but just looking at the playmakers, the guys they have on the field. You would expect, hey, Eagles top 3 offense in the NFL. Defense, hey, they're figuring it out. They got a young defense. They got some potential, but they have some ups and downs. No, it's defense is the constant, 100%, and they're getting better. And yet the offense seems to be getting worse. I mean, the competition level is kind of increased, I guess, if you want to look at some of the games, but then the Lions had been giving up so much with especially man coverage. It felt like a great opportunity. The win played a factor, so possibly a little asterisk there, but it's ridiculous. Just doesn't make sense. And we're this far into the season now, so it wasn't perfect last year by any means, but the lack of creativity and the offensive line. It's so understated, this offensive line. It makes an offensive play caller's job a lot easier because you don't have to call great plays and you're going to be able to execute it. But yes, it's all of them. Michael with the 2. I think AJ is giving 100%, but the knee drains show. Okay. I would agree to disagree. I'm sorry. I've watched it too much in person of watch when he does give 100% and watch when he doesn't, and no, he lets up too many times. Now maybe there is with the knee drains. Sure, could be a possible side effect, but there's times when he does give more effort and others when it doesn't happen. So, Evan with a 20 bomb. Dude, it's another one. Appreciate that. KPS flaws. Predictable plays, terrible screen pass designs, but let's be fair, run blocking is a mess. Dropped passes, AJ gave up on a route again. Bad throws from Hurts. 3 failed tush pushes, drive-killing penalties, not all KP. Probably couldn't have said it better. So it's a collection, a comedy of errors, really. Continue to struggle in so many different areas. But yeah, that is 100% correct. They're all contributing to it. The few times that you would see a good play or even a good play call, you go, whoa, hey, that's actually exciting. That's kind of good. And we like the up-tempo, right? I forget who mentioned this on the live stream last night, but the up-tempo has really paid dividends when they can get there. The problem is they can't convert the first down, the first down, and get into that up-tempo. The Eagles have so many 3-and-outs. It's ridiculous. The reason is those first and second downs. They're worst in the NFL. I believe worst in the NFL in first down and like third to worst or fourth worst in second down plays. So they're facing the longest third downs in the league. They're converting at one of the worst rates behind like the Raiders and the Titans. I'm sorry, look at this offense. Are you kidding me? That should never happen. But they're having that many 3-and-outs, and it's a collection. It's play calling a lot, but it's penalties. How many times as well, it's like Saquon rips off a run, you're like, yeah, there you go, finally. 15 yards, 20 yards. Oh, well, there's a hold. Coming back. Sometimes maybe not a great call, sure. AJ's fall that was called for an illegal low block, whatever that was ridiculous. But, you got the PI call. We won't get into that. I don't know. It ended up working out, but yeah, it's frustrating. Daryl with the 10. The offensive scheme isn't very good right now. The plays being called should set up other plays, but they don't. You have receivers running routes within the same vicinity. We have an OC problem, Josh. We do. But we also have a player problem and a blocking problem and a execution problem and everything else. So you're not wrong. You're completely accurate. Everyone's on board with this. Like, I don't know of anybody who is defending. There's some that it's like, well, let's not put it all on KP. And I agree with that. Like, it's not all. There's a lot. But the execution has been very poor in so many areas, like was mentioned earlier. But I don't know that there's many people, that are like fully, I don't know, defending KP anymore. Even though early in the season I was like, well, let's just give him some time. Let's see if he can figure this thing out. It might take a few games. There's still some hope. There's shades of, well, here's some stuff. Play a quarter or two and eventually get things figured out. Sad to say it. I hate to say it, but it's in a pretty bad way right now. Yeah, Brandon Petula was handed the keys to a Ferrari and drives it like a Pinto. He might not even be driving it like a Pinto. It's pretty bad. David with a 2. What's up, bro? Reporting for duty. I know what that's in reference to as well. David, appreciate that, man. Whatever works. That and the Publix fried chicken. Maybe the Publix fried chicken causes that, but we'll take the wins. It's rough at times, but Jordan with a 2. Is it right to fire KP and hire Brian Daboll? Not now, no. After this season, sure, we could visit that. We could look at potentials. It depends on how far the Eagles go. It's the same old story that we've been talking about. But right now, obviously, like you got to ride it out. Whether it's Kevin Petullo or whether it's Nick Sirianni saying, nope, I'm calling plays. Like that feels like the only two options. I know you could say Scott Loeffler. I just don't think that at this point in the season they're going to go to anyone outside of Nick because a lot of it is still Sirianni's offense. And, does he make you that much better? Can't be much worse. I understand that. But I really don't know. And that's the difficult situation that they're in. I mentioned it multiple times as well, but the Lions did that. Again, people just joining, so having people in and out. I'll mention this here again real quick and get to the other super chats, and then probably going to wrap up here in a bit. Drop a like, though, if you have not. Lane Johnson, the report was, unfortunately, the Lisfranc injury that he suffered. Sprained foot. There's a positive to it, though, is that doesn't appear it'll be season-ending. Sometimes these things are worse. They have to have surgery, season-ending. It looks like 4 to 6 weeks is the projection, which would put him in line to return for the postseason. So may not get Lane Johnson back for the rest of the regular season, but he would be there postseason-wise, would be fine. Waiting results officially on the x-rays. So should have that maybe later today. If not, I would imagine tomorrow we'll have that news. So keep you guys posted. But as soon as we get that, have a recap and all the takeaways there. So stay tuned. As I said, prayers for Lane. Definitely if you believe in that. And got to be okay. And, if you're in the meantime, or if you're in the state of praying for Lane and the Eagles, you might as well go ahead and offer up a prayer for Kevin Petullo in the offense. Let's see. Where's the other one? Oh, IBH. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Kenny, I didn't get yours first. Kenny with 2. Players have lost faith in the offense. I think you're seeing some of that for sure. Yeah. It's why you got guys that are not giving as much effort. Now, I hate that because as bad as it is, I still wish you'd see the 100% effort at times. But it goes both ways. I can understand where you've seen so many plays and play calls and they get frustrated. Jim, any news on Cam? Can't afford to have both out. I have not seen anything official on how, like, anything serious of Lane Johnson magnitude. So we'll see if he ends up, longer term. I know that there was the comment of Willie Lampkin. I was making it more of in reference to Lane Johnson, obviously, because that's the news here. If Cam is out for more longer term, then yeah, sure, you might actually see him playing in those snaps. But at the moment, and I could double check, this is like, I don't know, 10 minutes ago, the last time that I was checking here during the stream. But let's see, Cam Jurgens. Yeah, nothing. Yeah, no other update either. Just from the injury last night. So we'll see. Could be Brett Toth, but another one I'll keep everybody updated as soon as we get. The S box with 5. In hindsight, I wish they had let Lane sit out earlier. I haven't thought he was ready to be back on the field for weeks now. This was inevitable. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I don't know if it was the same foot, and maybe somebody can verify if it was the same foot as the ankle injury. Does an ankle injury, is it overcompensating for something? If you have an ankle injury and that occurs or causes a Lisfranc, I don't know the anatomy well enough to say, does that contribute? Could it have contributed? I guess it would reason there's a possibility if that is the same foot. But it's not like it was the same injury from Green Bay. And Lane's a warrior. Like even if the staff were concerned about it, like he's going to go out there and play. So ultimately, hindsight's 20/20. But like I was okay with him going back out there if he's feeling good enough to go out there and gut it out, play on the offensive line. With the full group starting for the first time since I think week 2. It's just unfortunate, obviously, with the injury. So. David, okay, same foot, not the same injury. I know it wasn't the same injury. I was just curious if it was the same foot because I don't know if you overcompensate for the ankle. But let's see, Smitty. Oh yeah, Red Scorpion member for 5 months. Appreciate that. But Smitty now saying what AJ's been saying. KP losing the offense. I guess like it's hard to say though because like Lane Johnson had said it way back. Even, AJ had his 1 week, and then Lane said it, and even Saquon said, hey, we're frustrated. Offense can't be playing like this. AJ said it multiple times again, made those references. Now, Smitty's been saying it. Yeah, you're seeing it on the field, regardless of what the players are saying. There's some frustration, or there's a lot of frustration, and you're seeing maybe that lack of effort, but I don't think that's, I don't know. I don't think that's anything crazy or new. Mad with 5. The regression of Jaylen Hurts is staggering. Can't throw against zone or cover 2 or tight windows. He's holding the offense hostage. Yeah, we'll see. Oh, Mike, I'm sorry. I missed yours. I'll get back to yours, Mike, here in a second. I'm sorry. I did see it, and then I forgot to read that one. Don't worry. I'll get to it. Is KP's in the chat? Really? What's up, Kevin? You should probably be doing a lot of other things than hanging out in this chat. And you're probably going to get killed in the comments, but what else is new? You probably see that everywhere else. Matt, I will get to your, Mike, I'll get to yours. Matt, as far as this one though, Jalyx zone has not been good. I don't know. It's hard to say for not being there in person, the wind playing a factor. I don't know how much. He did miss some throws. He did miss some reads. You saw it in the Green Bay game as well. But there's been other games where it's like, man, he is seeing the field really well. I don't know, right? This is the part that we don't fully know because we're not in the building. We don't have the play calls and the scheme and everything else. How much are they trying to keep Jaylen Hurts under wraps? Because there's times, even last year, where all of a sudden he has the outing that he did against the Steelers, and isn't that the comment where he's like, that's what y'all wanted to see? Is finally, let this thing kind of open up. Don't be playing so conservatively, and then there's opportunities. Now they want to keep take good care of the football. They don't want to turn the ball over. But I don't know, man. Jaylen Hurts is on the list, and this feels like a kind of a continual theme that we've talked about. But like, if you made a list of concern levels and stack ranked them, Jaylen Hurts is way down on that list. Way down on that list. There's a whole lot of other areas you got to go to first and address before you start saying Jaylen Hurts and to the level of this offense. Personally, Mike. Okay, got yours. Appreciate that. Give Parks Frazier play calling duties. He's got very limited experience there, and he's a passing game coordinator, if I'm not mistaken. Again, it can't be worse, but in the middle of the season, I don't think that you go and make that demotion and it changes things dramatically in a positive way. As bad as it is, does it fix it? You know, like, is that the moment where? Because can you just step into that role and say, well, you haven't been calling plays all season long. Jalen hasn't been getting those plays from you in the headset. The team either. We got to figure out this cadence, this relationship, this balance. You could say they haven't had that all year, which is probably fair. They haven't had it much. But I just think it's either you stay with Patillo or Nick Sirianni's taking over play calling. And either one's not a great option. Jansen with a 2. Quignon and Nakobe are ball-in. Thoughts? Go Birds. They are. I mean, not a whole lot else other than that. They're absolutely balling. Well, the fact that Q can lock down 0 catches against, and you just forget about it. Basically, you put hit whatever side of the field. All right, Q, you're going to be good. Take advantage. It's I think 40% completion over the season, if I'm not mistaken, for Q. Dude's going to get all pro. I will be shocked. The way that he is playing up to that level and all these primetime games against good opponents, you look at the different quarterbacks and everything else. I shared a tweet earlier, too, that I think, put on the screen for people. This is just an update from a couple weeks ago, but we had the stats, for the Vic Fangio defense, where they were at. So you have an update now. And so the Eagles defense has only allowed 9 passing touchdowns this entire season. 9. Best in the league. Meanwhile, opposing quarterbacks are completing just 56.6% of passes. Best in the NFL as well. It's Vic Fangio. The best part is, look at the schedule. Look at the quarterbacks they played. These are not cupcake teams. These are not quarterbacks, that's like, oh, well, okay, you're playing, just a very average, very mediocre schedule, which is kind of easier to shut down these quarterbacks. These are quarterbacks that on any given game, and they've struggled, sure, so I get that, but everyone does. But you go look at just statistically over the course of the season, they have lit up some teams, and they are capable of throwing for 2, 3, 4 touchdowns in a game. You got to list there Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, and others on that list. Toughest schedule in the league entering the season, and the best strength of victory now by a mile. I guess outside of the Giants, but they've only got a couple wins, and one of them is us, so that helps on their strength of victory portion. But they're doing it against some of the best teams, and that's the wild thing, is this defense is that good, as bad as the offense has been, still somehow getting it done. All right, let me get to these other super chats here. For those joining again, Lane Johnson out for 4 to 6 weeks, likely headed to the IR. Waiting further tests, though. Hopefully not season-ending injury. Does not seem that way, but going to get the x-rays and make sure, probably knowing either today or tomorrow. New Age with 2. The offense isn't great, but the plays are basic. They're very, very basic. Yep. Not a concern. Shady with a 5. Anthony is right. There's stuff Philly needs to improve on, but the doom and gloom is getting old. That is, definitely where this thing has been at. I love the picture and the comment that Anthony had after the game. He sent it to me. But basically, do you err on the side of, okay, there's some optimism because the defense is here and they keep winning games even though people say it's not sustainable? Because they do. Feels like it's not sustainable, kind of, but they are winning. And there's moments we had that last season as well. Or are you the pessimistic viewpoint and you go to the other one? But anyway, I'll talk about that in more of the game recap video. Brian with a 5. Appreciate that. AJ looks like he already mentally checked out from this offense. Doesn't justify his lazy effort. They need to involve star players in the next hire. I guess they could. Ultimately, you just need a play caller who's going to be able to get them involved more, call plays. It's the sequencing. I think that there's moments that plays look great, but it's the sequencing of those play calls. And that's the inability, the lack of experience of being a play caller and knowing how that runs, especially in a game. Sometimes on the scripted portion, it actually looks okay. I think that it would have been fine in the scripted portion. I really do. Like the opening possession, it's all hypothetical, but I really think that we would have scored. But you had 3 drops on the first series, and then the penalty that backs you up. So, that may not have been as much on Patullo, but again, that's the scripted series. It's the first possession of the game, first couple possessions of the game. Outside of that, it's playing off of what the defense is doing, the adjustments that they're making, and that's really where it starts to feel like you got some concerns and issues, but it's the same old song and dance every week. J-Doc with a 5. According to insiders, people on the team are frustrated with Jalen. They need to have a heart-to-heart and talk this out. Yeah, but, this is a problem with, according to insiders and who's saying what. And, everybody's got reports these days, and not taking a shot specifically at an individual or not wanting to per se. But you got, I won't say specifically, but you've got some people that'll put out there just pieces that almost feel like smear campaigns. It's like, okay, but then you got some other insider who can refute that or says they refute it, and it's, that's completely false. This has not happened in one bit. Whether it's someone's frustrated with another player or the Eagles are trying to trade this guy or they're upset with it, it's all over. Is there frustration internally on offense? I totally buy that. Yes, I'm sure there's frustration, but in what context? And does someone hear that, they're frustrated because, the offense is not playing well and, Jalen's not getting the football around where he needs to and all this stuff? Possibly, but it's like, is that taken out of context? Is it in a vacuum? Are you looking at all the numbers? Who is the person that's saying that? And, you've all played the telephone game of sorts. Like, what message you get misconstrued when they're from 3 people down the line? I'm just saying, I trust Jalen's figured it out in the past. He's played his best ball in the highest, brightest stages. He needs to be better, but so does everybody else. It's not near the concern to me for that level. Alex with a 5. People need to wake up about Adoree. Yes, he did. He allowed 1 catch yesterday for 8 yards and had that 4th down play. I think there's 1 catch for 8 yards on Amon-Ra St. Brown, I believe. I don't think that was it for the full game? I thought I saw it was just Amon-Ra St. Brown because I think he was the one on Jameson Williams for the touchdown, but he still played really good. I think Jameson Williams was the 40-yard, unless they're not counting or crediting that against him or to him. He was the closest guy. I don't know. I haven't gotten into the film that far yet to see what the play call was, but I think it was Amon-Ra St. Brown. 1 catch, 8 yards. Still played really good. Like, the way he played in Green Bay, the way that he played now against Detroit, Adoree's the CB2. Whether you want it to be or not, Adoree's CB2 for the foreseeable future. And this defense is good enough to win the Super Bowl with the caveat of, offense has to play good enough, kind of. Dez with a 5. Appreciate that, dude. Says, tired of people blaming Jalen. Man just won. Here we go. Man just won a Super Bowl, and they act like he didn't just put up 316, 3 touchdowns versus Minnesota a few weeks ago. Hurts season. Yes, I believe that he is that guy. He has that ability. It's kind of a combination. He's struggled. He's been a little bit rusty, but the scheme and the play calling and the sequencing, like we were talking about, and the flow of things has gotten things so far off that, like I also don't want to be that guy. I hear what you're saying. I also don't want to be that guy going, hey, yeah, but he threw 316, 3 touchdowns against Minnesota. It's like, yeah, but that was before the bye. Like, we're multiple weeks ago. Like, okay, what have you done for me lately? Like, we need to show something. So I'm with you. Like, it's not all Jalen. I'm not buying that. But there does need to be an improvement for all the guys. Like, Jalen's got to be crisper on the passes. He did miss some. But like we said, if you're doing a stack ranking, concern levels, Jalen is lower, much lower on that list than Kevin Patullo, then the offensive line, then the sequencing, then the penalties in the worst times. Darius Cooper, sorry about him, but, the penalty on the tush push, that was going to be a conversion. I would have, even though they did stop it multiple times, so I guess we can't say it's a foregone conclusion, but they probably would have converted that, and yet you get the false start, and then all of a sudden you got a punt. It just changes things. We got all guys contributing to the poor offense. 48 wave with a 5, all in the, quotes, elite quarterbacks have same innovative play caller for multiple seasons. When has Hurts been afforded that luxury? So how can we fairly judge him? Fantastic point. The number of changes that he's had, play callers, offensive schemes, learning new playbooks or new designs and everything there, it's night and day difference. That it's usually the case in point where you look at like a journeyman quarterback or a backup quarterback or one that was like, so much hype coming out, didn't really live up to the expectation. How can we explain this away? And you see that. You see the picture or the image of, the 8, 9, however many coordinators it is now. I don't have the graphic in front of me. But going back to college, that's usually what you see. And yet it's Jaylen Hurts, Super Bowl winner, Super Bowl MVP, MVP candidate, played extremely high, has insane amount of wins. And that's all that he does is wins, even with every offensive coordinator you possibly can think of. So I'm with you. Like, he's got to have some consistency. I mean, could you imagine what this group would be like if it's unrealistic, but what this group would be like if Shane Steichen was still here? Like, if he just never left? It was like, oh, hey, 2023, still had Shane Steichen. 2024 last year, Shane Steichen. Now, we won the Super Bowl, so we love Kellen Moore. Appreciate that. I do believe that if Shane Steichen had been the offensive coordinator, we still win a Super Bowl. So, look what he's doing with Indianapolis. But that's a whole nother story. Anyway, that's where we're at. But like I mentioned a second ago, share this one more time before we wrap up. Drop a like. Make sure to subscribe. Got the game recap coming tomorrow. For those that are just joining, I will go back to it here one more time for the news on Lane Johnson. Prayers that it is nothing more significant than just a sprain. It looks like he'll be out, though, for 4 to 6 weeks. Most likely would end up being for the regular season, but would be back by the postseason. So Fred Johnson time, that's what it's looking like. We believe in Fred. Fred's been pretty good in spot starts or playing more than 50% of the time this season. Eagles are 3-0. Got some guys on the schedule, be able to live up to that, but there's still some opportunity. Keep you posted, though, as far as those x-ray results, as you see on your screen, waiting those from Dr. Robert Anderson, and just make sure that it's not season-ending injury news. So keep you guys up to date, as I said. Appreciate it. Ultimately, silver lining, Eagles are still 8-2, atop the NFC, have things in front of them. Maybe the offense can find itself at some point. It feels like we shouldn't be saying that 12 weeks into the season, yet here we are. But, next up, we got Dallas and then moving this thing on. Black Friday game to Chicago or against Chicago. So stay tuned. At least they got an insane defense. But appreciate you guys as always. See you in the next one. Go Birds.